If you wanna stay with me, if you wanna try, maybe you could be with me, but only for the night.
Hi there, welcome back to the Board Game Specialist. I'm Carla.
And I'm Melanie.
And today we are talking about second versions of games, could be third versions, fourth versions of games that are better than the first version. Now we say better, but we also mean could be equally as good.
Yeah.
Some of my list I find better, but some are just as good and shorter, or just like an easier setup or a quicker version. But
yeah, kind of something about one thing I've done is I have excluded kind of trilogy. Like if there was like 3 in a trilogy, I haven't added that, like the second one or the third one as part of a better than. So
yeah, I don't
thinking
think I
like
have any of those either.
Century.
Yeah,
the Century, as well as like Wormspan and Finspan. I haven't added that for Wingspan. So yeah. Good, because we didn't discuss that. I'm glad we did the same.
We totally did that. Yeah. So this will be interesting because I had quite a long list. It was kind of hard for me to narrow it down because, you know me, I buy second versions of games, roll and writes versions of games, card versions of games, any kind of version usually possible. So I had a lot to choose from.
I think my list was lower because I've also didn't include, like, if I didn't play the original and I played like a second version, I didn't count that. Like I can't compare. I also don't love roll and writes.
Right.
So most of the time, to me, that's not better than most of the time.
Right. Yeah. No,
there was one on my list, but I don't know if it made the top 9.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of mine, and one of the reasons why I will get a smaller version of a game is because if it's a heavier game or even like a medium game, I think, ooh, the lighter one, then I could play with my family. Yeah. And still kind of scratch that same itch as the
Easier
big game.
to get played, for sure.
Yeah. So that's one of my reasons. That's how I rationalize it.
Right. I totally need both because.
Yes. There's reasons. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Perfect. I guess we're ready to get started then.
Okay. Well, first let's talk about a game we've been playing lately.
Yes.
I'm up first. So one of the games I'm going to talk about is a game I had purchased before my retreat, and it was kind of on a whim. I hadn't really known a whole lot about this, which is unusual for me. I've usually researched games, watched videos, even sometimes read the rules online or something before I get one. But this one I didn't know a whole lot. That's
impressive because 90% of mine are on a whim.
Yeah. But
probably.
I have a lot more spare time than you, so there's that too.
There's that.
I do a lot of video watching and reading and whatnot in my spare time too. But this one is actually a sequel game to the first game, which was Trailblazer, the John Muir Trail. And I had played that one. I didn't really love that game. So when this one popped up, like I seen it kind of come out, and it was on Kickstarter, and I never backed it or anything. And then I kind of started watching, or I seen a video, and it was like, this game is, if you didn't like the first one, you might like this one because it's a lot better. And so just on that alone, I just purchased the game, and waited for it to come. It came, and I was just hoping it would be good. And I thought it's very pretty. So that was kind of one of the main things. I'm like, it's a beautiful game. I'm just going to teach it at Card Treat. Let's hope it's good. Usually I have definite good games that I'm teaching, in my opinion, at the retreat. But anyway, this one worked out. It is even not just a good game, but it's like very, very thinky and hard, which was not the first case of, the first game. It was kind of a simpler game and sort of almost boring because it was just kind of easy and just kind of like a set collection, moving along a map. Collecting things and doing things, unless we had played that wrong. But I did not really like the first version. But this one is Trailblazer, the Arizona Trail.
Right.
And this is completely different than that game, other than it has some of the same resources in it. And I think that's about it. Because you're not really traveling on a map on this one.
Okay.
You are doing different things, but you still get the feel of hiking, because the end goal, I'll explain first, is you are trying to get your suspicion gold, which is one of the tracks around the game board, to meet up with your grit, your Arizona grit. So kind of like Rajas of the Ganges, Arc Nova, where you go
Right.
opposite ways on tracks and you meet them, and when they cross, that triggers the end kind of thing.
Right.
And then you try to cross them as much as you can to get positive points. You can get negative points in this if you don't end up crossing those together. There is some end game, so you might not have crossed until end game and then you'll cross, but the first time I played it, I tried it solo and or just kind of two-handed, and I didn't cross, and I'm like, I don't even know how that's even possible. And then I played it again with John, and I crossed, and I'm like, okay, it didn't seem possible, but I kind of knew things from the first play that I did better in the second. And then I taught it at Card Treat, and I crossed and made some really good points. But it is definitely one of those games where the first time you play, you might hate this game. Because one of my friends was playing it, and there was a couple turns where there wasn't a lot she could do, so it was very frustrating.
Yeah.
And I do hate that in a game, but we did figure out later, you could have done this or this. So that's actually not the case, because there are things you can do. But anyway, she was quite frustrated. I'm like, I hope you'll play this again one day. She's like, no, I think I'm good. but the other two that were there really liked it. And I don't even know if they ended up crossing, but they did. By the end of the game, they're like, okay, I know what I would do different. So what you do in this game is you have this player board, and it has like a little player board with a grid that you're going to place polyomino tiles. So that's just part of the game. And you're placing flora and fauna tiles. So depending what you place on your board, you're going to cover up bonuses, and you'll get those. And they can be resources or terrain. It could be some gold, which is the points, or grit, which is the other side of the points. You can there's these terrain tracks that you're trying to move up as well. And every time you take a fauna card or an animal card, you will possibly move up those tracks. And every once in a while on the track, there's little bonuses too that'll give you resources, or possibly more terrain or grit or gold again. So those are two of the things you can do. You're also trying to get these big... I think they're called tour cards. That's probably not the word, but they are expensive, that you need to save up resources and have moved up so far on the tracks in order to get them. But then they give you big points and more resources as well. And the resources are quite neat in this, because you have your life points that you need. Well, I'll explain in a bit. You have your backpack points, but the resources are... is it aqua? It's called... No. Oh, of course I can't think of the word now. No, it's the color. It starts with an A. It's a color between blue and green.
Teal? Like a teal-like color? Turquoise?
Turquoise. There it is. It's not...
That doesn't start with an A at all.
Turquoise. It's a turquoise is the actual resource, but underneath it is bronze and silver, and those are just higher multipliers of the turquoise. I was gonna say aqua again, of the turquoise. So the turquoise track up, it gives you like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the bronze gives you 2, 4, 6, 8, and then the silver gives you multiples of 3. So if you had 3 silver, you actually have... Or if you had 1 silver, you'd actually have 3 turquoise. So it's neat, because it's just a different way of, having a currency kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you need these to get the fauna cards, to get the flora cards, to get the polyomino tiles. And for some of the, I think some of the tour cards too, you need that as well. So you have these 3 workers, which are your like little explorers, and you can do 3 things each round. You can when you do get a polyomino tile, there's another little track you're going to go up, and that is going to also give you things as you move up, but you can also pay to go up more. And it's interesting because you can pay 1 turquoise to go up 1, or you could pay 3 to go up 2. And you want to get up this track because there's really cool things up this track. You can get these little animals that are going to give you bonuses throughout each round, or give you more workers. You're going to want to move up because you get these little weather cards, and they're kind of random because you'll grab 2 and choose 1, and it can help everybody. It could hinder the leader. It can help the person behind. So it's kind of neat because, I mean, you very well may be the leader and you don't want to, take away any of your resources, but there's another card that's like, oh, everybody gets a water or something, and you're like, oh, perfect, I'll just share the love. So you want to get those. You want to move up all the tracks, obviously, as much as you can. But then there's also these goal cards, and they kind of go for every couple of rounds. Like one will be scored as soon as people get to this point. It's kind of a race, and then another one scored after like the 4th round, and then another one scored kind of after the 8th round, and it just kind of ranks them. So like the person, and they're all different, so the game can change that way. It might be somebody's completed a column on their polyomino board, or a row. Whoever has the most rows completed gets 7 points, and like an Arizona grit, and then the second person gets 4 points, and the third gets 1. So you want to be able to like achieve these goals. But like I said, you only have 3 workers, and one of the workers has to be placed on this turn order worker placement spot. And it's interesting because if you go to the first spot, you're going to pay like 2 backpacks. Backpacks are really hard to get in this game, depending, I guess, what cards come up each round, because every round there's a card turn that everybody gets those resources. And we had at Card Treat our first, I think, 6 rounds, we got no backpacks, so they were very, very hard to get. There's different ways to get them, but not very many. So that can make the game harder as well. But then like the second player might have to pay a health and a backpack and a water, and then it gets kind of cheaper as you go to the like 4th player pays 1 backpack. So you could, on your first turn, just choose to go to the turn order, and then you're done and you don't have to do that. Or you might wait to see where everybody else goes. You've got lots of resources. You don't have to worry about it. But sometimes, you're like, oh, I only have 1 backpack. I have to get there, or I'm going to have this negative thing happen. Because if you don't have enough resources to pay that, you take these little snake tokens and venom tokens, I guess they are, and you flip them over and you'll lose points immediately. And then at the end of the game, for how many of them you have, you're going to lose some points as well. There is ways to get rid of them throughout the game, but it's neat that you always have to choose a turn order kind of thing. And so you have 2 workers, but as you move up that polyomino track, you can gain more workers. And then as you move up the terrain tracks, you can gain these little, what do they call them? Lost settlers. They're just like, 1 round extra worker. So there's ways to get more things going, but your first game, it's going to feel like I can't do anything, and I'm never going to get those 2 scores to meet. But it's neat how you can kind of see what you did in that game, and then like, okay, well, I would do this different. I would maybe have gotten more animal cards, because they give me little bonuses that I can use. Sometimes it'll give me like one of the tour cards for like 4 cheaper, which is a big deal, because that's like, I would have typically had to be up these 3 terrain tracks, like 2-3 levels, but this one gives me like a 4 discount on that. So you want to get all those, but I mean, it costs turquoise, so you still got to build up your turquoise. So you have to like really manage your resources well, and try to see the combos in there that are going to help you get other things that you need in order to, do your basic stuff. But there's a lot going on in the game. Like, I still wouldn't call it a heavy game. It's definitely a medium game, but with a lot of crunch to it. And very, very interesting, and total replayability, because like I said, all those cards are going to change up. The goal cards are going to change up. All the tiles that are out, like nothing is going to be the same. It's all going to change. And there's also 2 other neat things in there that the end of the first round, whoever's kind of behind on one of the tracks, they get this little cactus token. And then they get to keep it for that round. And if somebody grabs a card with a star in it, they get a point. So it kind of is like a catch-up mechanism, which is neat. And then the other one is whoever's lowest on the other track gets to take this one, and they get to put it on a polyomino tile or a card, and it basically blocks that card or tile. So if you can see that somebody really, really needs this specific tile, you can block them that round from it. And then that whole column, if somebody goes there, they have to pay a health every time they take one of those cards or polyomino tiles. So it makes it a little bit more tricky. I mean, you could play without those. Maybe I would advise playing without those your first game, because you don't need it to be any harder than it is the first time. But it's a really cool, thinky, crunchy little Euro that I was really shocked that they went from the first game to this one, because it's really, really neat and beautiful too. Like
it looks cool. It does not look little at all.
No, it does look like a lot, but it, like, when you learn the rules, it's like, okay, yeah, it's not like
it's one of those that makes sense as like you play.
Yeah, right. It all kind of blends together. And there's a couple more worker placement spots you can go to that I didn't explain. You can get the resources that everybody gets at the beginning of the round. There's one spot to go there, so you could go there right away and get a bunch of those. But it's just it's a really neat game that surprised me, and I lucked out and kind of bought this one blindly, other than looks and watching one video, but I was happy that I did get it. Yeah. What about you? What's your game?
Yeah, so you know what? Me and Lee ended up playing a game just, I want to say yesterday, but it wasn't. It was 2 days ago. And I was so impressed with it. Now, I went a couple of months ago, a month or two ago, I went to Missions Fun and Game with Roberta. And when you walk in the door, they have like a shelf right at the door with a bunch of games. And I don't know if it's like new games. Yeah. New games that just arrived. Ones, I think, yeah. Yeah. So I bought this one on looks alone, like I knew nothing about it, and I was like, okay, I think I want to bring this one home. So we played it yesterday finally, and it's a bit of like an escape game, and that is Backstories, and this one is the Emerald Wedding Anniversary, and I actually have it right here as well. It's a small game, but I was impressed because it's not just an escape game. It's also a bit like it has a very strong create your own adventure theme. Plus, me and Lee just went and watched a final Mission Impossible with like the deep box seats and stuff. So this, and I was like, okay, because Lee doesn't love this genre. So I was like, I'll play this with other people, and then, it'll be great. And then I pulled out the first card, and you flip it over, and it says, this guy walks by and drops glasses on your table, and just kind of walks away, and you put the glasses on, and then you hear, Agent Nix, your mission, should you wish to accept it, is, and then it's Mission Impossible in a game. Like, it's Mission Impossible in a game. So I was like, I stopped, and I was like, Kaylee, did you want to play this one? He's like, yeah, sure, let's play it. Now, if that wasn't cool enough, then you come across these scenarios. It's like, okay, so this guy comes and he's like questioning what you're doing there. Do you tell him to go back to the party, or do you attack him? And depending on what you decide, you're going to pull out the next card, depending on what you decide. Then there's also, and I'll show you like a very unassuming one. There's also like see-through cards. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that, but you can put because if you put the glasses on, then you're wearing the glasses, and these are 3D X-ray glasses. So, if you have that on your character card, then you can utilize the glasses. Now, let me see if I can find the glasses. I'm so impressed with this game, and I'm going to have to go and hunt down. So these are the glasses.
More versions.
And the glasses has a cutout. So you'll have different action cards that come out that have different cutouts in different areas of the card. So if you use the glasses on a card, you would take the card and you would put the glasses behind, and you would flip it over to see what shows, like what got revealed with those glasses. Now, if you're doing a different action, it would reveal something different. And oh my God, I am so impressed with this game. It was so good. It was so, it was so good. And then as you progress, now this is a spy movie themed game. We got beat up a couple of times, and every time we get beat up, you flip your character card or you replace a character card. Now he's like, you got bruises and blood, like so. And if you don't make the right choices, you could get killed, right? Then you would have to replay the game and try to make different decisions.
Oh, cool.
I was
How long did it take you?
Impressed with this. I think it plays in about an hour. I didn't pay attention to the time. I'm just gonna see if it says this was a difficulty 3 out of 5. It shows on there, like in the top, it has like the difficulty. It shows the type. So this was secret agent humor, and the atmosphere was like all audience. So there's a few of these. Because I went on their website, there was a few of them. This is the only one I've ever come across, but I'm definitely going to be on the lookout. Yeah, it says about an hour to play. 1 to 6 players, and they recommend age 12 and up. It was so good. Oh, I'm not even showing anybody picture of the game. So this is because I showed it on thing. But see, you have like the see-through glasses you put on top of your character card. Then you'll be like the scenario, and it creates a panorama. So you'll put the different things, and then you can go in different areas of the room. And then as you finish your first objective and you go into another room, then you get new panorama pictures that comes up. And then there was even like a time element that every time you did something, it replaced one of the cards, and there's like somebody knocking at the door, and you're trying to complete before they barge in. Oh my God, so good. So good. I was impressed with this one quite a bit. And another thing that's great about it is it's completely replayable for somebody else. You can pass this one along once you've solved everything, because nothing gets destroyed. You just put the cards back in order and it's good to go again.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that was Backstories. And this one was the Emerald Wedding Anniversary.
Huh. Yeah, I haven't even heard about these. You posted on our group chat that you love this one. And I thought, that's awesome.
Yeah, so good.
Cool.
All right, so we're going to get started.
We are. Get my list up here.
And I've made the list. Like, I've made this presentation yesterday. I haven't written down, so I can't remember what's on your list. I don't even remember what's on my list. So it'll be a surprise for everybody.
All right. Well, my number 9 is Castles of Tuscany. Now, this is like a sequel kind of to Castles of Burgundy. It's a lighter, quite a bit of a lighter version of it, and just like a smaller production, basically, of Castles of Burgundy, but still has a different twist on it. And I really like it. I wouldn't say it's better. Of course, nothing beats Castles of Burgundy, but it's definitely like right up there. And it's a perfect like little quick hit of Castles of Burgundy, because you still get the same kind of feel of everything. You're using the little polyomino tiles to place in. It's not called your duchy in this one, but you have to place them in a holding place first before you put them on your board. And there's no dice, so the only thing in this game is you either are going to choose cards, which you're going to be able to use to play the tiles into your board, or you're going to take a tile from the like central board, place it into your holding spot. Or the third thing is, now I'm just blanking what the third thing is. Take cards, place your tile. Oh, or the other thing is you're going to upgrade one of your holding cells, because you have different actions for every color of tile, just like in Castles of Burgundy. But if you upgrade them, then you can have more options. So like when I say I were just to choose cards for my turn, you typically can only choose 2, but if you had upgraded that, you can choose 3 cards. If you upgraded it again, you could choose 4. So the cards are important because you need the proper colors to play the tiles. So if I am playing an orange tile, I need 2 orange cards. If I don't have 2 orange, I can use an orange and 2 of anything else. But you don't want to have to do that too often, because you have to take turns just to get the cards. And then, just like in Castle of Burgundy, when you place a tile, you get to take that bonus action, depending on what color it is. And they're all very similar to the big game. Like, you will get workers. Workers in this are obviously not for dice. They take place of the cards. So they're kind of like a wild card, basically. For animals, you will get points. For another color, you get this stone, and a stone is basically a whole other extra turn. There's actual bonus cards that you can get from one of the tiles, and it could be anywhere from like points to more workers or more tiles, another turn, whatever. The neat thing about this one, which is unique, is the scoring. So there's 3 rounds, and how the rounds are tracked is everybody has a certain number of tiles on each of their boards. And anytime you take a tile, like if I were to take a tile from the main central area, I place one from mine on there. And anytime a pile, so there's 3 piles, is empty, that triggers the end of round 1. So the first person to empty their first pile will trigger it. And now, excuse me, the scoring is neat because you have this round, I think it's a lion in the middle, and then there's like an orange circle around him, and then a green circle around that. And so the first round, you're just scoring on the green circle. At the end of the round, you transfer those points to the orange, but you don't clear them. So then after the second round is done, wherever your green is at, you're going to transfer those again. So it's quite important to try to score as many possible points in the first 2 rounds, because you're going to get to score, like from the first, you're going to score it in the second and third. And in the second, you're going to get to score them in the second and third round. So it's a neat way of scoring, because you're moving along this track and then you feel like, oh my gosh, they're so far ahead of me. But if I can bump up this round, then I can catch them, and I've kind of caught up to them. And now next round, we're kind of all evened out again. It's a different way to score. I don't know another game that does that. Maybe there are more games, but everything else just feels like a smaller, tighter version of the big game, and it plays really fast. I think we played a 4-player game in maybe 45 minutes, where, I mean, if you know Castles of Burgundy well, you possibly could do that, but the setup is a lot bigger in that game. This one is a lot quicker, and the setup's a lot quicker and a lot easier. 2-player game, I think John and I have played in 20 minutes this game, so it's quite a bit different for me. And you played this. I think you were at
I played it once at your house.
Yeah.
I couldn't reach the middle board, so I didn't have anything to do with the scoring at all. So I still don't know how the scoring works. But it was interesting. Definitely, if I come across this one, it might follow me home. I did find it interesting. Like, it was different enough that it was worth owning both. Yeah. But similar enough that it kind of gives, okay, I know what to do.
It just had some of its own unique things, that it wasn't just basically a cut down version. It just had a lot of things very similar, which I love in the big game, and it just kind of made it really neat and unique in this one. But yeah, that's my number 9, Castles of Tuscany.
Wonderful. Great choice. Just because I played that one time and I was dreading trying to explain it, I didn't even put it on my list. I didn't know this game well enough. All right, my number 9. I don't remember what it is, so let's go have a look. And it is Lost Cities, the board game. Me and you played this on one of our board game marathon day. And I was impressed, because I had played Lost Cities, the card game, the 2-player version, which came first. And then I was, it's a great game. It's a great 2-player game. It makes tons of like top 2-player game lists, because it should. And then I had heard that, Lost Cities, a board game, is great, and it plays 4 players. And I'm like, color me intrigued. So I came across it and I got it, and hadn't played it for a while. So it was on my shelf of shame for a very long time. And then you're like, hey, let's play this one. Now, you had played it before, right?
No.
Oh, you had just learned it.
I had just really wanted to play it. Yeah. I learned it when you were, I think you were still working or something. I got
Yes, you were setting it up.
Read the rules. Yeah.
That's the way to do it. So it's super interesting, because in the card game, you go on these expeditions. And the moment you start an expedition, it's minus 20 points, but then you add points to it. In this one, is you'll be playing cards, but instead, like, you physically go on the expedition on the board, and it starts at -20, then it's -15, then it's -10, then it's 5, then it's 10 points in the good, then it's 15 points in the good. So it has a similar thing, but it's moving along. Now you got to play your cards in ascending order. So you want to start with little numbers to move forward. Now, if you move too fast, your character is not going to be able to move beyond a certain point. And you don't want to be ending on a negative point spot. That would be not great. Now, if you can make it all the way through, you end up at the bigs, like you reach the end of the expedition, and then you get like 50 points for getting there. But what's really interesting with this as well is as you go along the way, you'll get some different actions you can activate. Now, which made it into a combo-tastic game, which Carla absolutely loved. And you have one turn where you moved like 7 spaces. Just like, okay, I'm moving this one, which allows me to move. So I'll move here, which allows me to move. So I'll go over here and move there. And then that allows me to, it's like, holy crow. But it was good. Oh my God, this game was good. Do I love it more than the original? I think so. Honestly, I think so. And then you had like a bigger expedition and a smaller expedition. The bigger expedition scored twice, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was doubler, like a doubler.
So you don't want to have him not go far, right? Like it'd be bad to have a double -20.
Yeah.
But you get through the same thing. Like, should I start a new expedition? How long will be? Because you trigger the end by when somebody reaches the end of one of the tracks. So like, well, she's getting close, but should she have enough cards? Should I start a new expedition? Or like the same like decision making kind of comes along. But such an amazing version of this game, Lost Cities. Board game, absolutely love it. Card game, still love it. So that was my number 9.
Yeah, that was fun. Awesome. Okay, well, my number 8 is Carson City, the card game. So this is derived from a bigger, I should say, like older Euro game, which is kind of, you're building up your ranch area and you're, building saloons and fences and like, I think cattle ranches and different things, but how they score is kind of unique in the big game. And there's a bit of take that in the big game. I've only played it twice. I played the big game twice, but I had seen the card game and I had watched videos on it and it looked really cool. And there's a really neat solo variant to it. So this is why I had bought this one. Now, what this one does is you are still building up your ranch, but you're using cards and you are basically overlapping cards to be able to build up your ranch and like have some mines and different buildings. Like I think there's churches, there might even be jails in here and things like that. And they all score differently depending on what's next to them kind of thing. So it's one of those like, what was it called? Like circle the wagons where you overlap cards and place them on top to make things work, but in a different way than that game. And how you draft them is neat too, because everybody has a deck of cards in their own suit. And I think it goes from like 1 to 10 possibly. And you can choose, you see what the cards are up in the market. And there's always going to be a worker and then 4 terrain cards. And then you're going to choose a card from your hand like, oh, I'm going to bid, like I really want that one card. So I'm going to bid at like an 8, a higher card. So you put your card face down, everybody flips them up. And then whoever's the highest gets to choose a card first. And then you kind of go from there. Now, you might have 2 8s. Like you might have an 8, I might have an 8. Now, the neat thing is at the top of the deck, the one that's face down, it shows like a ranking system. And they're all different. So this time around, the ranking, mine beat you. So I get to choose first. So there's always going to be like a first, second, third, fourth. It's a really neat way for them to do it. And the next round, we deal out more cards and a new worker. And then that ranking system is going to be different. So it's not the same every time, right? Because we all have different suits. So we go 9 rounds where we place these cards, and then there's like an end of phase kind of thing. I think you actually score, and then you do another 9 rounds. And so you have this quite built up big ranch. and you score different ways with, like I said, your mines and your churches and your banks and all kinds of things. But it's really neat, I find. And even like in the solo, how you do it is you just have you just shuffle their decks and you just flip a card for them, and they might steal a card you need, because they kind of, if you have to play as a 4-player game basically, and then the first player will take, there's like a hierarchy of what they would take kind of thing, but they will always typically take what you want. It always happens that way. So it still feels very competitive in the solo version. And you're still trying to, some of the cards are actually blank. So
really?
You might end up with a blank card, which sometimes isn't bad, because you might need it in a spot that you can then overlap it. And some things want to have blank things around them. So, it could all work out too. But it's just a neat way, you're scoring kind of like a spatial puzzle, basically. But a really neat way of doing it. And I really do like this game. I never did buy the big game. I played it once a long time ago, and then I played it again recently. And I mean, I liked it, but it's not something I think I would purchase. I would definitely play it again. It's a neat game, but I do like this card game. And That's my number 8, Carson City, the card game.
I like the look of the box too.
Yeah.
Very cool. Never heard of this one. All right, my number 8. I still don't remember, so we'll go have a peek. And that is Wingspan Asia. Now, I said I wasn't including Wormspan. I wasn't including Faintspan, but Wingspan is definitely part of Wingspan. It's the game. Now, you can play this one as an expansion. I have never done that, but you can also play this one as a standalone game for 1 to 2 players. And that's the only way that I've played Wingspan Asia. Actually, I bought this one before I got Wingspan. I just got Wingspan Asia for me and Lee to play. And it does add a few interesting to it. You have these yin-yang pieces that as you place cards onto your player board, you remove the piece. One is going to be black, one's going to be white, and you're going to place them on this play mat that's going to be between the 2 players. And depending on what you've played, like you have to cover something that is either on the card that you've played. So maybe you're going to be like, oh, well, it has a large wingspan, so I can put it over there. Or it has this kind of nest, so I can put it on this kind of nest and things. And you're putting it onto that board. Ideally, when you're playing this, you're placing this on the board in the thought that you're trying to create a cluster. I completely lose track of that every time. Like when I have like these little side quests, I'm so caught on my main quest that I forget all about those things. So, but it could also be part of what your goal is for that round as well. So you're that going on, but the cluster scores at the end of the game. Lee had this huge cluster that had a bunch of little spots all throughout the board. But it just kind of adds a really interesting element to the game that makes it different enough that it's worth having this as a side thing to Wingspan, or to just have this to play instead of Wingspan. I quite enjoy this. One thing, the cardboard pieces, like Wingspan has such great containers. Now, the original one, the new one, I think they went cardboard. I don't like them as much because I don't think there's a lid for them, while the other one did. So I don't like and there's no dice tower in this one either. Do you need the dice tower? Yes, you really do. Not really to play, but it just looks so cool. In this one, you just have a little piece of board that you roll your dice and leave them onto. But otherwise, it plays just like Wingspan, and it's kind of like an engine building, super satisfying game to play. But Wingspan Asia is just a really neat spin on it, and I like that. I mean, because I think you can play Wingspan 2 players. There's no reason why you couldn't.
Oh yeah.
But this one, as a 2-player game with that yin yang thing, very interesting, and I quite enjoy it. So that is my number 8.
Yeah, that's a good one. Just adds a little bit more to the 2-player version, and nice that you could just buy that and then play, like have that for as a 2-player game. If you were only ever to mostly play with 2 people, that's kind of a nice option. All right, my number 7 is kind of a cheat because I have 2 in there, but they're like they're different, but they're from the bigger version. So this is Isle of Cats Duel and Isle of Cats Explore and Draw. And I feel like they're both equally
I
as
don't
good
know if
as
I
the first one.
realized you had 2 games
That's
because
okay.
I just put the
Oh, okay.
one.
Okay, that's okay. So, now I just want to talk a little bit about the Explore and Draw because that one is like the roll and write version. But what is neat about that is during COVID, he had put out a like print and play version of it, and you could basically use your cards from your big game. And so people could
fun.
play online with people. And like Jamie Stegmeyer did that. There was a few designers that did that, and I highly respect that because that was just something free they gave to people. Basically, like you still had to print it out yourself, but just a nice thing to do during that time when we were all stuck inside, and just like to have like, ooh, a cool thing we can do, and I can play with my friends online or whatever. So anytime that happened and they also then published the game, I just bought it more for the fact that I I highly respected what they did, and I just wanted to buy it so that it was, money that went towards them because it was something really neat I thought they did. And so I bought the game, but it even added a little more from what the print and play was. And so how this one was done is because you got like your own cards in the game as opposed to using the ones from your big game, and they were a little bit different too, so it was kind of neat. And how this one works is you have these cards in a grid, and instead of drafting cards like you do in the big game, like you're still going to draw all your cats on your boat, and kind of the same bonuses. If you cover up one of those maps, you're going to get like some of the treasures. But how you draft these cards is you're going to draft a column of cards. And so the cards could either be cats, certain colors of cats. They can be end game point cards, or they could be treasures. They could be something that can give you more fish kind of thing, and things like that. And so it's a neat way of how the drafting works instead of just, choosing cards and passing the deck around. But other than that, it does play very similar. Now, the duo has a little spin to it as well. There's cards again, but they are placed out on this central board. And you move this little cat around, and you will, I think you can move up to 3 spots, and you can choose one of the cards. And again, the card might be a cat. It might be like just all the things I said. Now, the fish in this one are neat because instead of buying or luring the cats, what the fish are used are for moving the cat more, so that if you are trying to move a spot on that central board and you can't get there with your movement, you can spend fish to move more. And I think you can even spend 2 to just go anywhere on that map. So it's neat because you're choosing how many cats you have, how many end game point cards you're having, and you're kind of like making up your own game that way. And then you're still like placing them on your board, and it's just like a really neat way of drafting and playing the game. They both to me are really cool. This one is a 2-player, obviously it's a duel, but it's just a unique way to play, quicker way to play it. You still get your fix if you like that game. I know you had a bad experience with the big game.
And might have to try so long, so this one might be more.
Yeah. This will be more your up your alley there, but it's really good. They both are great, and some people actually, a lot of people prefer the Explore and Draw to the big game because it's just so good. And but I haven't actually seen there is a lot of reviews on the duel, but I haven't paid attention to how people love it or not, but I find it really, really neat. And that's my number 7. So the Isle of Cats, the second, third versions of the game.
Yeah, there you go. Neat. Perfect. Yeah, I'll have to try that one sometimes. My number 7 is a mystery to us all, and it is Clank Catacombs. So, I mean, Clank in space, I've never played it, but it looks like the game of Clank. I've played like expansion of Clank's, which just adds a different map. Clank Catacombs definitely changed the feel of Clank, because instead of having a board that you play on, you build it as you play with these tiles. So it turns more into a dungeon crawl. And one of the neat things, because one of the problem with Clank is people would go in, just barely make it in, grab something, get out so that everybody dies. And they win that way. With this one, you really cannot do that, because you need to go and find the exit in the tiles before you can make your way back out. Plus, it creates like a maze, because there's one ways. It's like, okay, well, I'm going there. Well, I can't come back here. So you got to figure out a different way to make it back into the entrance so that you can get out and end the game. But it does add a really interesting spin on it that kind of mitigate that problem that could happen with the original game. Otherwise, it's very similar. It's still a deck building game. You still going to be Clank and make noise as you move through, which adds more cubes into the bag, which is later on, if they come out, is damage that you take. The tiles, the type of things that you'll come across, you will come across monsters that if you don't have a sword to attack them, you'll take damage from, or those still crystal cavern that kind of slows you down and you're kind of have to stop there instead of continuing for the total of movements that you have. So it's still very much Clank, the game we all love and play, but it just changed it up enough to make it very interesting and fix those little issues that were in the base game. But I quite enjoy this one. Now, Carla, you've played this, right?
Yeah, I have, and I do like
Nice.
it better than the. I've only played the Undersea one, I think, whatever that one was called, other than this one.
Right.
But I like this one better.
Nice. Yeah, so that was my number 7, Clank Catacombs.
All right, my number 6 is Istanbul, the dice game. Now this one, I don't know if I bought this used or how I ended up getting this. I did have the big game first, and maybe I thought this was a roll and write, so I'm like, oh, cool, I'll grab it. It's probably got a solo mode, whatever. Then I picked it up, and it's not a roll and write. It's just a dice version of the game,
Ooh.
and it's very cool. It's a race game. You're just racing to get those rubies, just like you are in the big game, but you're just using dice. And how you do that is you roll a handful of dice, depending on player count, I think, and you'll just spend those dice. And I think you only have 2 actions a turn, unless you've achieved. That's not the word. Unless you have acquired some bonus cards that give you more actions, but I think you only get 2. So out of those dice, you have to choose 2 things. So on the dice could be money. You could just take some money, and even if you had 3 dice with money, you can take all that money. You might have cards that show up on the dice, and that will just let you take more cards, or like depending on the dice, but you do only get to keep 1. It might show a color of tile, and that'll just let you choose one of these little resource tiles. What else can be on there? Rerolls, I believe, might be on there. No, those are the crystals that you get. But what you're trying to do is just get rubies, and there's different ways to do it. You can buy them. There's a little track that you can spend money on, and every time somebody gets one, the price goes up. You can use these different colored crates to purchase them, which are the resources. And again, if like I buy the blue crate resource ruby, and I have to spend 4, well, then next time it's going to be 5. So everything gets more expensive as the game goes. But you can also, like I said, if you acquire these crystals, they will give you rerolls. And if you can get these bonus tiles, so you can just choose to spend your dice on those. You might have to spend some of your resources, but those bonus tiles may give you like an income every round. They might give you a crystal every round. They might give you a discount on something. And they're all kind of neat because they if you can put like 2 or 3 together that actually work well together, they can really speed up your ruby acquirement. But it's just a fun game, and I would say I don't think I've ever played a game over a half hour of this one, but it's like it just gets my heart racing because it's a race game and it still feels like, you know, you get that crunch from the big game, which the big game isn't that long either. I wouldn't say it's much more than an hour and a half, but this one you could, you know, you could crunch out like 2 or 3 games in the amount that you could play that game for sure. And I think I've only played this 2 players, but I feel like it would do well at 3 or 4 as well, because you're still just, you know, trying to race to do that. Everything would be more expensive, I think, because as somebody gets it, then that could like double or triple, not double, but it could like make the price that much more by the time it comes around to you. But it's just really neat, and it's an old game. Like I know the first one, I know the big one was first, and then this one was made, but it's just really cool. I think you have this game, don't you, Mel?
I have this one, and I've played this one with Lily once. I also have the board game version, but that one is still on my shelf of shame. So this one did not make my list because of that. Yeah.
I'll have to teach you that big one. But no, it's really neat. And I don't think it's in print anymore. Like some game stores might have it. You could possibly find it used, but it's a good one to snap up because it's a neat little game. And yeah, that's my number 6, Istanbul, the dice game.
Very nice. Neat game for sure. Yeah, and I want to play the big one, and components are cool.
Yeah.
All right, my number 6 is Slam Throne. Okay, this game does not yet really exist. Roxley has announced that they're going to be releasing Slam Throne, which is basically Dice Throne in a POG version of the game. I have played this game with the prototype with Manny Tremblay, actually, and I've played it a few years before that, because this game has been created years and years and years ago. And they carry it in this little white box with the thing that says Pog Throne on it. That's not the name that it's going to be. But it just never came to be. And if you are born in the 2000s, you have no idea what we're talking about. If you were born in the 80s and was at recess in school in the 90s, you know what Pog is. People cried over this all the time because they played for keeps. I just remembered the drama behind it. But you have all of these cardboard tiles that stacks up. Now, in this case, you have a set for each different Dice Throne characters. And you have the big, I don't remember what the big slammer is. I think it was just called a slammer. That's a cardboard, a plastic one that's a little thicker. And the goal is you're going to hit your slammer to the top of this stack of cardboard one with the intent to try to get them to fly up, flip over. So anything that flips over is a hit. And your slammer has like special abilities based on your character in this version. And I cannot wait for this game to be released. This is an instant buy, no questions asked, take my money, give me my Pogs type of purchase is going to be from. Not that I played Pog that much, and not that I'm any good at this game half the time. Let's be honest, more than half the time I missed the pile completely. But it's just such a nostalgia satisfying game to have been invented that I must have it. So yes, this one, is it better than Dice Throne? No. Is it worth getting it? 100%. Is it just as good? Maybe not, but it belongs on this list anyways. And that is my number 6, Slam Throne.
Yeah, it'll be a good convention game for sure.
Oh, 100%. I cannot wait.
At the end of the night, everyone just flipping. Do you flip the discs, or do you, how do you?
Well, you got to hit and hope that they flip. Because if they don't flip, they go back up in the stack. Yeah, like you want them to flip over for it to be a hit. And it's for last man standing, like Dice Throne, right? I played it at GameCon the first time when Roxley had a booth there and I was volunteering for them. Not the last time I played it was at GameCon. So I don't know if it'll be at GameCon in Edmonton because that's coming up. I'm assuming Roxley will be there. So the demo copy, maybe like a better demo copy than the prototype copy I played, might be there. So if you're like, I don't know if I want to go to GameCon, just that prospect of possibility alone is probably reason enough to go. But yes, my number 6, Slam Throne.
Nice. Okay, my number 5 is Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. Now, this one I had passed up on several times because I'm like, this was when I was in that phase of, no, I'm not buying every second, third version of the game. And then I finally researched this. I don't know, it just fell onto my video feed one day and I just had to watch it. And sure enough, I'm like, wow, that is a little bit different. Like, different enough that I really want this game. So I bought it, and it is a little bit different. I mean, you're drawing, that's a big difference, but it's neat how you're making your castle, because there's these vellum, is that the right word? That like clear,
right? Yeah, like almost see-through paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you place this over top of your castle grid, basically, and then you're drafting these cards, which are rooms, just like in the big game, and you're gonna draw them. And it's neat because you can put it under the vellum and then trace them, which is nice because I'm not a great artist, if you've ever played any kind of drawing games with me. And so
what comes to mind?
If you could ever see my crawling nun in Discord, I definitely posted that, you would know. But anyway.
Oh my god. Yes.
But this is perfect because you are connecting these rooms. Now, the rooms are quite different than the tiles in the big game. They are quite strange and uniquely shaped, and for a reason, because some of them like have jagged edges and you're like, why do they do that? And there's a reason, because some of the rooms are like, they all score differently, just like in the big game, but there's one room, now I can't remember which one, it'll score for however many blank squares are around it, and you can even count the half of the square. So when it has these like sideways edges, that helps you get points if you have spaces around it, kind of thing. And it kind of helps connect, you can connect sideways ones to sideways ones if they end up working. But it's neat because like how you draft the cards is there's like a turn order, and then the next round, whoever had, I believe, the lowest point card is going to be the first person to draft. And if you're tied, then you flip over and see what your next cards would be, and then that person would be drafting. But it's quite neat because you're going to mark down every room that you've completed. You have this other sheet that you're tracking things on, and every time you complete a room, you get a bonus. And of course, just like in the big game, every color does a different type of bonus. And of course, you can combo off those, because sometimes you can trigger one that'll help another, and so on and so on. And so there's usually big points in this game, and everybody seems to get at least, I don't think I've seen anybody have 150 points, but you can get up to like 250. I think we've gotten to 300 before, and it's just a neat way to try to figure out, okay, I gotta try to max this, because then you still have your goals you're trying to reach. You can draw moats on there and they give you big points, but you can only get the moats if you've completed certain amount of a certain type of room. You still have your swans in here that will kind of help you, give you multipliers to things. And it's just like a really neat roll and write draw. I would call it a draw and write because you're not rolling anything. But your castle looks really cool after. Everybody's is different, of course, and they supply you with the colored pencils, and it's neat because on each pencil it'll say like which room that is for, because each color is for a specific room. And you also get points for, or you get to fill in these flags on the top if you're the last player. So if you're always the last player, it kind of gives you a bonus up top. And then once you've completed, I think 3 flags up there, you get to choose one of any of the bonuses. So there's always something neat when they do that, when it's like, okay, I'm always going to be last here. And, but I actually get a bonus to do that. So then some people are fighting to be last and they want to do that. Nice. So they can get that. And it's just a really, really neat game. I just enjoy it. And that's my number 5, Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig.
I have not played this one or own it,
No.
but I want it.
This one I think you would
Story
like.
of my
I know you're
life.
not a big Roland writer, but I think this one you would actually really like.
But like, I love the cartographer, and it has like a strong look to that, feel to that. So I was like, ooh, tell me more. So yeah, that one's probably going to be in my collection someday. I did clear out a closet where I can put another shelf. So I might have room for some more.
All right.
But I still have a few piles I need to clear, put it in there when I get the shelf. So, all right, my number 5 is ScandalOh. So, I mean, I've been talking about ScandalOh a lot this year because we finally got it played this year. Like last month or two, it's made a lot of my list. This is a second version of Awkward Guests. Now, they've made a third one, Awkward Guest 2, which is a 2-player version, which kind of changes it up. And I haven't played that one, but according to what Carla has to say, I need to, and I'm going to want it anyways. Yes. But ScandalOh plays very much like Awkward Guest. But it changes things a little bit. So instead of like, hey, there's a murder, we're trying to figure out who it is. It's like, okay, there's a scandal and we need to figure out who's involved, which celebrities involved, what is this scandal, who's publishing it, and what newspaper are they publishing it in. And I absolutely love it. And for some reason, I almost like this one more than the original. Like, it's very tight.
It's
now
more
I
colorful,
could play
for sure.
Definitely more colorful. I like the clue sheet, and I think that was a little bit for me, because I love doing those logic puzzles where you're like, okay, so and so was not at the garden, so you put an X at the garden. So it's like, okay, well, she wasn't at the garden, and then this weapon, like, it has that feel to me, and I love that. I absolutely love it, and then I love this game a lot. Now, when I purchased it, it was at a ridiculous price.
Yeah,
it was unreal.
$16.
And for how good this game is, now I don't think the price is at that stage anymore.
No, it's not there anymore.
But it's worth whatever price they want to put on it. Honestly, it's such a good game. I absolutely love this game, and just like a deduction game. I would say like a whodunit, but it's. I guess it's still a whodunit. Who did what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
who did what? Yeah.
ScandalOh, I really like it. And I think that is such a neat game. And so far better. Well, so far like way better than Clue. But, to me, it might be a little bit ahead of Awkward Guests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're very similar, but there's a lot of differences as well. So. All right, yeah. My number 4 is another duel, and that's 7 Wonders Duel. Ooh. Now, I played 7 Wonders quite a while ago in our old cafe, and I liked it, and I've probably played it maybe 10 times since then, and I really do like 7 Wonders. There's people who viciously hate that game. I'm not sure why, but it's a good game. But then I played... yeah, there is. Like, they literally are angry about it. I'm not sure why.
Right.
It's not Monopoly.
It's not a bad game. Yeah.
Anyway. But then I played 7 Wonders Duel, and I love this one. I do like this one better than the first one, but I will still play the first one anytime. I do have all the older expansions of the first one. I think there might be a new one that I don't have, but I do like it. But this one has a couple expansions as well. I only have one. And you don't even need it, but it does add a bit to it. The base game alone is really cool. You are drafting the cards differently than in the big game. The big game, you are passing cards around. I think it's called an open draft, where this one is it's on the table, and some of the cards are face down and some are face up, and they are placed like a pyramid. Sometimes it might be an upside down pyramid, depending on the round. But if the card is face up, you are allowed to, and there's nothing covering it, you are allowed to take it. If it is covering another card, you cannot get access to those cards until they have been uncovered, meaning there's no cards on top of them. You're still collecting the resources, so that's the same. You're still gaining army points to get in this one, it's different. You don't get point tokens. You just move up this
It's like a
military track.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you, that's a way you can win. If you can get the red military little tracker all the way to the other person's end, you can just win that way. There's still science cards, and they work a little bit different. That you, when you get a pair of the same symbol, you will get these little science tokens. And there's a way to win the science one too. I think maybe having one of each, I believe. I don't know exactly. But those science tokens are really cool because they can give you like a really cool power throughout the game, or they can just give you some big end game points. You have your purple cards, which come into play, I think, just the second and third round. And those are going to give you points depending what cards you already have. So some of them you can just luck out and be like, oh, wow, I really went hard on the yellow cards, and this one is going to give me money and points for those. Or it's going to give me money and points for how many you have. You've collected all these green ones, and now if I take this purple card, I'm going to get like 10 points just because you went hard on science. So it's kind of neat that way. And just the drafting, because you don't want to uncover for the other person, but you're sometimes forced to, because that's the only card you can take. Now you're still building wonders. There's 4 wonders each in the game, but only 7 of them can be built. So if I do all my 4, you're only going to be able to build 3, which is kind of neat. And they're quite powerful, but also very expensive. So you need to have built up resources or pay a lot of money in order to build them. And it's neat because you draft those at the beginning of the game too. So it's not just like random that you get all these wonders. I think it goes like, I choose 1, you choose 2, I get the last one. And then you choose 1, I get 2, and you choose the last one, kind of thing. But it's just a really simple, like, the rules are very simple. I feel like you can teach this game in probably 5 to 10 minutes. And it's just, they just made an awesome 2-player version of this game. Now I haven't played the Lord of the Rings version, which I've heard is really, really good.
Very good.
You've played it though, right? Yeah. No, I would like to play it. I think that one would be a play before I buy, just to see if it's too similar. I know there's like a whole little area control thing in that one as well, but I'm sure I'll like it, because if it's anything similar to this, plus more, of course, it's going to be awesome. But this is my number 4, 7 Wonders Duel.
Good pick. All right. My number 4 is Civilization: A New Dawn. Now, because this is Sid Meier's Civilization: A New Dawn, I also have Sid Meier's Civilization, that you get this big board and you have like all these different characters that you can play. And these characters has the dials that keeps it's really interesting. It's a big, long game. It's not one that you'd be like, oh, let's play this real quick. You're going to be at it for a while, which is why Civilization: A New Dawn kind of makes my list, because this one will play a lot quicker. I want to say like an hour, maybe like 30 minutes to play or something like that. Like, it'll play a lot quicker. You have the board. You still kind of go around building civilization depending on what you have around. Like, you can send excursion from your cities. You will be able to trade with other people or attack other people and different things like that as well, like a civilization game. Now, A New Dawn has a very interesting action selection mechanism, which is also used in that zoo game. What am I? Ark Nova? No.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ark Nova?
Yeah, Ark Nova.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm questioning myself there. But where you have these different actions that you can do. Now, some of the actions you can do on different terrains, unless it's moved up, then you can do it on every terrain, because you can do it on this one, but there's like a hierarchy of what you can do, like how complicated or hard to get a terrain will be. Then you need to kind of move it up in order to be able to activate it there and do it on these things. And then when you do, it resets it and moves it all the way down and shifts everything up. So that action selection is so interesting. Oh, let me show you the game. Look, it looks like this if you're watching on YouTube. But it is such a neat game to play. definitely area control, and then you're developing your civilization and you're trying to build out. Like you can play this game and not attack each other, and have it be a great game, right? And you can, and there's also, I think, now if you're playing less than 4, there's also kind of neutral players. I'm thinking if you're playing 4, there might still be neutral players, but there might not be. I'm unclear on that because I don't think I've played at max player count yet. But it's a great civilization game that doesn't have that overstay. Like it plays fairly quick for as far as the civilization goes. And it's so satisfying to play. So satisfying to play, which I think most civilization games are anyways. And the components are great, and the action selection is amazing, and it's so cool and so great. And that is my number 4, Sid Meier's Civilization: A New Dawn.
Yes, I would like to try that one. I did own that at one time, and then I got rid of it thinking I'm never going to play this. But I don't think I was really into Civ games at the time, but now I mean, the last few years I definitely would have kept this game. Anyway, my number 3 is another duel, and that's Yokohama Duel. This one is, I would say, a card version, but it's worker placement. So it's kind of neat because you're using cards as your workers. And they are, so in Yokohama, you are traveling around and collecting different resources in order to fulfill contracts and possibly get these little crates that will build up. And then you go to these other spots and pay these crates and get big points for them. That's a very short rendition of what the game's about. But how the map is set up in the big game is all random because you use these tiles, and it's all randomized, so it'll always be different. In this one, you can still change it up because you have the tiles, but you have the layout, and you're going to just place those around, and then you're going to change up like the little bonuses for the houses on there that you like. Once you've built a house on there, or a trading post, you get those bonus tiles. So that all changes up again. But the neat thing is you have these cards, and they each have a power on them. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe. Maybe it goes to 5. And you have to play them in order. So you can't just your first turn, you can't play your big guy. You have to play the lower ones first. But then you might have acquired these cards that will actually bump up the cards. So you can see in the middle, if you're watching, there's like a 1 and a 2 card, and those will add to your power. So if you end up getting those, there's a way to get them. Then even if you play a 1, it could be a 3 right now. And how the power works is depending where you go. Like if you had a 1, you might get 1 fish. If you had a 2, you're going to get 2 and 3 and so on. There's some where if you have a 1 or a 2, you get nothing. So you really need to get to build up those power. At the end of the round, you can choose to upgrade one of those. So you basically flip over the card, you pay money, and now that 1 becomes, I don't know if it's like a 3 or how much it moves up. But it's interesting on how you do that. Do I want my 5 or my 4 to be a 6, or do I want my 1 to be a 3? Because it's like, well, can't do much with a 1 other than if I had those extra power up cards to do something. But it's neat how those decisions are made. You can also buy tech cards, and those will kind of give you in-game bonuses that might give you discounts on things, that might give you like a power up or just being able to move somewhere, do something. Money is really tight in this game, just like the big game. So you always have to get to the bank, and the bank, again, like power 1, you might get $1 and so on. So you want to get that. There's ways to get more workers, I believe, but I think it's just the temporary power up ones that you can get. But it really feels like the big game just crunched down in a smaller version and quicker as well. Yokohama can be a very long game, especially if you're playing with 4 players. So it's still, I would say, a medium, Euro. It's not heavy. It's a longer one, but it is very enjoyable. And this one just makes it that much more, accessible. And this was another one of my Gobfest finds. I always get something at that flea market that just is like the best deal ever. I went and purchased this. It was actually from our friend, I don't know if you know Chris, but maybe. Chris Weiss.
Maybe.
To know him.
Maybe.
Anyway, he's always got a big table at the flea market, and so I'm like, oh, you got Yokohama Duel? Okay, well, I'll buy that. I think I paid $20, and to get the deluxe version of this game, I think it was like $70. Anyway, I came home, assumed this was the base game.
Right.
No, it was the deluxe version.
Nice.
Like, what? Had the deluxe components, the metal coins, and everything.
Because it looks amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool, and it's like it looks big on there, but it's actually not a huge board. Like it,
right?
That's how you put it upright so that both players can. You can actually tilt it two different ways. You can have it where you're both kind of looking sideways at the cards, or you can put it this way and then kind of stagger the cards so that some can read some their way and some the other. So it's kind of neat. It gives you options that way, but
neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. I do enjoy this one, and that's my number 3, Yokohama Duel.
I haven't played any Yokohama games, but I want
Really?
to.
Yeah, you.
All right, my number. I know. Okay, my number 3 is Endeavor Deep Sea. Now, this is one where definitely as good as, not better than, because Endeavor Age of Sail is a game that I absolutely love, and I still do. Now, Endeavor Deep Sea, which made this one an instant buy for me when I saw that it was coming up. I was like, yeah, I'm in. Just because I love the first version so much. Now, Endeavor Age of Sail is like an area control, and you're spreading your fleet, and you're trying to control these locations and spreading your boats on these different areas. And then when you get to the different, I don't know, like different countries or whatever, then you have to kind of move up, or you want to move up the track on there as well. Super satisfying game. But what's really cool about it is how everything is organized in trays, and then the action that you get to do is depending on how much you've moved up on the track, which the great aspect of that game was brought on with this game as well. So you also have really cool trays that holds everything together. You also have where you kind of go down the tracks on your own player board that kind of, depending on how far you've moved along, how much you can do. It's going to, the first one's going to determine, like, because each round you're going to be bringing in a new tile, and which is like a new worker that you can activate. And depending on how far in the track you are is which level you can acquire a card, like how high you can go in the levels of the cards that's available. Then the second one is how many workers you can bring in to your board to play this round. And then the third track is how many workers that you've placed that you can bring back from the task they've completed, which is important because otherwise that action is not available. It's blocked. So you want to be able to bring them back. And then the fourth track, the final track, is how deep you can dive, because this is submarine diving, right? And it's very eco-friendly theme, like, so you can go in these areas where you're trying to collect things, or you can go and then like where there's like turtles and you're trying to do, like, it's very thematic. I mean, like, it's, you just move along the thing that you're doing, like these things for safeguarding the life of turtles and stuff. Like it's just moving along the track, but and the game looks super cool. Now, I set up my first game on my little table here, and then I had it set up, and it's like, and I took a picture of the setup and shared it, and then they all laughed at me. It's like, yeah, you're gonna run out of room, because as you spread out and you spread down, the board kind of builds, right? So really neat. One thing that's really interesting with this one as well is it's scenario based. So you will pick which scenario you want to play. The difficulty will change. Like we played the first one where everything you do pretty much give you points. So if you go and you spread on this little map thing, you'll get points for that. If you're placing these tiles, like, because your workers, you can either place a tile to activate your workers, or you can place it to complete things on the different tiles that you put out. They're cards. I call them tiles, but they're actually cards. So that they stay there. So that's why you need to make sure you continue to bring in new workers because those have been spent. And that would bring you points. While other scenarios are more specific as to what you need to do, that will make points. And the other things won't necessarily score. So I've only played the base scenario because every time we've played it, it was like new players. So it's like, oh, we recommend you play this scenario. So it's like, okay, well, let's play this scenario again. But it was like, even if you only play the same scenario again and again and again, it's like you have a regular board game. But because there's all these different scenarios, it's like I have 6 different board games. I don't remember how many scenarios there are. But it is such a really neat game. The way that it looks, the gameplay, the theme, I love everything about it. And that is my number 3, Endeavor Deep Sea.
There's also like a co-op version in here, isn't there? Or did you say that already?
Possibly. Possibly. I haven't come across that one, but it's very possible there's a co-op scenario. I wouldn't be surprised. They would have been able to do that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a neat one. I do like that one. All right. My number 2 is House of Fado. Now, this is a Vital Lacerda game, but this is one of his baby games. And I don't mean for kids. I just mean a smaller version, not a version, just a smaller, easier, lighter game. Still is a normal, like, board game, but just not heavy like his other ones. Now, this one is a version, and it's not really a version, but it's taken from The Gallerist. The Gallerist is all about artists and promoting your artist, buying their paintings and all kinds of things like that. This is a different form of art. This is music. And so you have your own House of Fado, and you are acquiring new guitarists, whether they be classical or Portuguese guitarists, and then a singer. And so you always have 3 artists. You don't have to have them all in your restaurant at the same time, but it's nice if you do. And if you have a lot of people watching and applauding. Now, what's neat about this and what it takes from The Gallerist is the bump out action or the kick out action, which is neat because you have one worker that you move around the board. And this one you have a couple workers, but you still can do a kick out action. And so what happens is you have all these worker placement spots. Once you've placed all your workers, you have to remove one from the board and put them in a different spot. They can never go to the same spot. And typically after the first couple rounds, there's going to be somebody in your spot. So what you do is you bump them out, and there's 3 little spots they can choose to go to, and they get like a little bonus. So it's neat because you try to situate yourself in those positions to always be bumped out, because you're always going to get, at least some money. You might get some more audience. You might get a music note. And what you're trying to do in this one, instead of promoting artists, you are trying to promote your musicians. But what's neat about it is, you got your worker placement, and you can go and you can acquire new musicians. You can gather music notes, which you're going to use to fulfill these, I'm not even sure what they're called, but they're like music sheets that you're trying to complete, like a recipe fulfillment thing, which gives you points.
Okay, yeah, cool.
You're trying to acquire audience, and they are placed at these tables on your player board. And your first table can only hold 2 people. Your second table can only hold 3. And you do have a third table that you open up once you've moved up your reputation, I think it's called. And when you do, you will remove that tile, and that holds 4 people. And then you have a little bar at the top that can hold 2 people. Now, why you want these people there is because once you've kind of filled up your restaurant, then you can choose to close the restaurant for the night, and you'll take your worker and you'll place them on the bottom right of your board, and then you will collect money from all the different audience there. So if I have people at my tables, depending where my reputation cube is at, I will at the beginning only get $1 per person, but once it moves up, I'll get more money. And then the people at the bar don't pay, though, unfortunately. You don't get any money from them. But they do all applaud. And what applauding does is it bumps up the artist, which is neat because each, I'm saying artist, musician, they are artists as well, but let's say musicians. So if like my classical guitarist was at a 1. I, acquired him at a 1. Now I can pay people basically, but what it is they're applauding, which is neat. So you stand them up, and he might like gray and brown colored meeples, I'll say, to applaud him. So if I have enough of them, he will move up a level. And then once he gets to a higher level, he needs more people to applaud him to get even better, right? And then the singer might need the black meeples and the gray meeples. And so I need to stand up some of them to bump up their level of fame, basically. So then after that, I can just choose to keep those same musicians if I want, or I can move them down to this part on the central board that puts them in like the limelight kind of thing. And there's 3 spots. You can put one of each, like a guitarist or a classical, a singer, and a Portuguese guitarist. And then I can also improve them there. And then there's a spot there to kind of put a cube, which is a little area control where you want to have the most cubes. And so somebody else can even come and do that there and add one, or they can literally hire that person and take them from there. Now, once they get to level 6, they are like, I forget what they call them, like super famous or something, but then they go over to the spot and superstars. And then you get this star, and you can only acquire these stars in a few ways. And those are kind of the end game trigger. But it's just a really neat game how he designed this, and it took like a few things from the gallerist, but still kind of the same artsy theme. And you're promoting them, and you're bumping workers out, and it's just a really cool game. I did not back this one, but when it came out, I was watching videos on it. I'm like, oh, I have to have this game, and I couldn't find it anywhere. It wasn't out yet. There was a store in Saskatchewan that had it that I almost ordered from and and would have paid a ridiculous shipping amount. But then I was buying a used game from my friend, and I don't know how we got talking. He's like, oh yeah, my friend's bringing me House of Fado. He had backed a whole bunch in Lethbridge, and I'm like, oh, does he have any extra ones? And he's like, oh, yeah, they're only $60, and I would have probably paid over $100 by the time that thing would have shipped here from Saskatchewan. So I'm like, nice. Oh my gosh, how does that work out? But so yeah, that was lovely that he got that for me. And then on top of it, this is so nice. He didn't have time to stop and grab one from Lethbridge when he was coming down to Calgary. So he's like, next time I'll bring it. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. And so Jack's like, you can have mine, and I'll just wait for that one to come. And I'm like, no, I can wait. And he's like, no, you can take mine. So nice. Like, little did he know I was so excited to play this game, and I had to play it like very soon after when I had wanted it. But It's a really, really cool game. He's got a couple others, Vitel, that he's made smaller versions of, and I do like them, like Mercado de Lisboa. You've played that. That's not a really well-loved game, but I think it's neat.
But it was neat.
And then he has Bot Factory, which is from Kanban, and that has like some very similarities like to Sandra and just the whole factory part of it. Nice. And it's just really cool to see how he derives from his big game, and then he does usually have an assistant in that second game that's helping him develop it. But it's still really cool how he does that. Or him and his assistant, I guess. But yeah, so that's my number 2, House of Fado. You should give it a try. It's really nice.
It's on my wish list now. Of course. All right. My number 2 is Le Havre, the inland port. You knew this was on my list, didn't you?
I knew that would be there, yeah.
Now, it wouldn't have been had we not played the original Le Havre, which I played with you. And I mean, Le Havre was interesting. We played it wrong, but the inland port impressed me so much more. And what was really neat about it is, first of all, you have this rondelle, and every round there's like, and everybody has this rondelle. So every round there's like buildings you can purchase, and when you purchase them, you add them to the rondelle, and you add them like to the left of where the thing is, either left or the right. But this thing shift around as it goes. So every round you're going to shift that over, so then the building becomes further and further from the little needle thing that it was put into. And the further it goes, the more valuable that action is going to be, like the more you can do with it. So you're trying to get it to go like as far as it can go, but you don't want the needle to catch up to it, because if that happens, it forces you to sell that building at half the price. And so you don't want to do that because you kind of wasted, but you're trying to make sure you activate the buildings. So you're trying to pick buildings of actions that you want to accomplish, and you're trying to build it up, but you don't want to wait too long, because the other person could pay you a gold to use your building and it resets its level. So you could be like, oh, great, next round, I'm going to activate this and it's going to give me all this. It's going to be such a great action. And then the other player uses it and totally mess what you were hoping to accomplish. So just be under the understanding that, yes, you're purchasing the building for the points, but you having the building on your side of the board or on your own personal board doesn't make it your own building. Everybody else could use it. So don't wait too long. So that whole aspect, I was really impressed. Quite enjoy that. Now, second is the whole resource management. So you have 4 cubes on this little grid that is your resource, and they start at different place. So along the bottom, it's like a 0. So it's wherever it is on the bottom grid is what you have. So it's like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up to 10, right? So if it's under at the 0, 1, then it's 0 plus 1. So you have 1 of those. And then if it's at 4, then you have 0 plus 4. Then you have 4 of those particular resource. Now, as you activate these building action, it's going to move resources in a certain way sometimes. And then you'll have like an arrow that points it this way or so on. It's like, okay, so you can go 1 to the right. That means you get 1 more. Or if it says, okay, you can go up. Now, we have 0 on the bottom level, then you have 3. So if you go up and you were like at 4, so you went from 4 to 3 plus 4, so now you have 7. So, and so on. Now, the corner, like you're trying to get as far high and to the right as you can, but that corner is missing. So you're trying to get into that corner. And whenever you spend a resource, you have to move your token down or to the left to use up the resources to purchase the buildings and so on. So you don't want also to be too far to the left, because if you can't go left, then you have to go down. So even if you had to pay 1, now you're paying 3. So you're kind of wasting the resources. So that whole management of the resources was so interesting. I absolutely loved it. And I thought this was so neat. Now, the copy I got was originally my brother's, and he gave it to me. He says, here, you take this game, because we hated it. So, and I don't know why he hated it so much.
Yeah.
They didn't like it.
Maybe
they felt
played
like
it wrong or something.
Maybe. I mean, it is like an economic game, so it's not like it has a lot of pizzazz, right? But yeah. I enjoyed the gameplay of this so much. And this is one that I definitely prefer over the original version. Le Havre is great, but it's not Inland Port great. And this is my number 2, Le Havre Inland Port.
Nice. I just figured out what we should do for our next like marathon if we get together for a couple of days. We should just do, if it's just us two, do like dual and 2-player games. See how many we can get.
Yes, I'm in.
Day or day and a half. Yeah.
Well, what's nice too is like with work right now, I'm off earlier in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be easy to do.
Yep. That's what we should do. Alrighty.
Sounds good to me.
Number 1.
Yes.
is Pirates of Maracaibo. Now this one is
nice.
A slightly smaller version. It's a card version of Maracaibo. Maracaibo is also, there's a lot of cards involved in that game, but this one is more, it's all about cards basically. The cards are the board. So you build up the boards. This one, I would really highly suggest getting the player mat for this one, because it shows you exactly where to place all the cards. And then that is your rondelle. So you are moving on this one-way rondelle towards Maracaibo, and you're doing that 3 times, just like you are in the big game. And it's neat because you travel to a card and you can either acquire that card. Some of them you can just choose to do that action, or you can just take $5. And you can only move up to 3 spaces. Now the cards are staggered, so it's kind of neat because each row is staggered, so they're not like straight across from each other. They're all kind of diagonal from each other, so you can move diagonally, but you don't want to jump too far ahead, because then if you go like 3 rows over, 3 rows over, you're literally going to have 3 turns in the round. But somebody could very well push this game fast. So what you're trying to do in the game is, like I said, you're traveling to Maracaibo. You're trying to gather cards that might help you for some of your quests that you may have, or for some of the goals that are literally on the cards on the rondelle that will stay on the board. The other cards, you can acquire them, and as soon as you acquire a card, you'll replace it with a new one, and so it's there for anybody behind you or for the next time you go around. Now, it's neat because there's so many different ways to score in this game. You can still do exploration. So exploring is part of the map in Maracaibo, and you have a little explorer that moves along this track and gets different bonuses that way and tries to cross these different flags for end game points. There's also combat, but it's very loosely in this one compared to the bigger game. You just roll dice and you will choose the action depending on the strength of the dice that you get. And there's 3 different colors, and they represent the jewels. So there's gold, pearls, and jade, I believe. Not aqua, but jade. And you will decide with your power of your military or whatever that you're going to choose different actions. And then you can also, the other neat thing is you're still upgrading your boat like you are in the big one. And each upgrade gives you something. And the neat thing about the jewels as you're collecting them is that you place them on your board, and some of them will, as you place them, you get bonuses, but then you're trying to bury them. And so there's different spots where you can gather these shovels that let you bury these jewels. And when you bury them, they go below your board and they will give you better end game points. But you're also trying to fill up the reserves on the board with those specific jewels. If I have a whole bunch of gold, I want that gold to be built up on the board, because then they will be worth more points at the end of the game. If there's only 2 or 3 gold on there, they might only be worth 2 points each. But if I can get that gold mine or whatever it's called on there to be built up, they might be worth 5 points each. So there's a lot going on still, but it's still played quite a bit quicker. And once you've played this game at least once, you can play it quite fast. But it's such a cool game. You can play it on BGA. I would recommend playing it on the board first. It would be a hard one to learn on there because you kind of have to read every card and click on every card. But once you kind of know what's out there, it's very simple and easy to see what you need. But it's just, I just love this game. And this was another one that I played a long time ago, like maybe a year, maybe even 2 years ago, a friend's copy. And I really liked it. And then, a couple months ago, I'm like, oh yeah, that game. Yeah, I need that game. So then I called Wizards Laugh. I'm like, can you get this game in for me? And they're like, yep, perfect. So we got it in, and I've been playing it a couple times ever since because I really like it. And there's a really neat solo mode to this too. Neat. But yes, that's my number one. My favorite game better than, and I do believe this one is better than. I almost sold my big game, and I still very well might sell it because I do enjoy this one better. And that's Pirates of Maracaibo.
Wonderful. All right, my number one, I don't think you're going to guess because it took me by surprise that I had this one so high on the list. And that is Roll for the Galaxy. So Roll for the Galaxy is like the dice version of Race for the Galaxy, which is the Galaxy version of San Juan, which is the card version of Puerto Rico. So this is like, better than plus, right? So, and all four of these games are really good. I do enjoy all of them, but Roll for the Galaxy is just something special. Now, I hear a lot of complaints about this one, about the iconography. And I'm going to say, the first time I played this, it took me over half the game before I understood what the heck I'm trying to do. I was like, what? It's like, okay, what? I don't know. But once it clicks and once you get it, and then it's like, okay. It's like, okay, like don't even try to win this game. Like the first game is a throwaway game, right? Like, but the second game and the third game, and it gets better and better. And what's so interesting with this one is you have these different actions that is also represented on the dice, and you're going to start with a certain amount of dice, and you're going to collect these cards that you're going to purchase and then kind of build, and then once they're built, they're there. But then some of these cards are going to give you new dice that you can add to your pool. So then you have your pool of dice, and you'll have a little cup that you're going to shake them in, and then you have a little shield that you're going to hide everything behind, and you're going to pour these dice out, and then you're going to see what symbol came up. And from the symbol that came up on the dice, those are the different actions you could decide you want to activate. This is also like Terraforming Mars, the dice game, utilizes that scenario, or the Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition kind of utilizes that mechanism as well. So from there, then you're going to decide, okay, well, I have the option of activating this one, this one, and this one, and this one. And you're going to stack kind of all the dice in groupings of what they are. Now, you can discard a dice to kind of change the value of a different dice to something that you want, if there's something that you were really hoping for. And depending on the color of the dice you have, they might represent more of a certain type of action than others, right? So there's that going on as well. So it could be that I really wanted to do that eye icon, and I didn't roll one, so I'm going to discard this one to turn this one into an eye, and then so on, right? So you're going to stack your dice underneath the different actions that you can activate. Then you're going to pick one of them to place it on the action to say, I am using this one and I'm activating this action. So that dice is guaranteed to be used. And everybody is doing this. And then after everybody's done this, you're going to reveal and say, okay, I'm activating the eye. So then you would flip the eye to its not crossed out side. And then if anybody else activates the second action, that gets flipped over to the active side as well. If nobody does, it stays on the X side. That action does not happen this round. And which is a big piss off if you have like, oh, great, nobody activated that. I have like tons of dice here. I could have activated this action multiple times, but I really wanted to confirm this other action, right? So you're hoping for a variety of action, but you can only commit to one for sure. And then the amount of dice you have in each action is what you're going to get to actually do if that action got activated. So it could be like, okay, great. Well, these 3 dice didn't get activated. I don't get to do it at all. So it goes back in your pool. All right, now I get to activate these ones. So then you can activate the actions in either to produce goods on the tiles that you've already kind of got, or to acquire new tiles, or to build those tiles, or to sell the goods that you have produced, and so on, right? And then those dice that you spend, then they go into the spent location, and you got to pay money to bring them back and make them available again. And there's all these things going on. So now you can definitely build like combos out of your thing. And then it's the first one to build, I think there's 16 tiles, triggers the end of the game, and then you score points to see who wins. So it's just really, honestly, that action, selection, activation, the dice collecting, the whole thing. I just really like that. And this game does it really well. So that is my number 1, Roll for the Galaxy.
Yeah, I've played this once a long time ago, and I had that same first game you did, so I'd definitely like to try it again. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's worth it. The first one, yeah, we had some. I don't think we had a single crossover.
No crossovers. All completely different games too. Like a lot of lots of different games.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, that's a wrap on that one. And we actually haven't finalized what our next episode will be, so it'll be a surprise.
Oh, I thought we had. Did we not?
I think so. I think we talked about a couple.
Oh, I have one written down. But if we haven't discussed it, I won't bring it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in case.
Just in case we
Had a
change
couple,
it.
But yeah. But it'll be something good. You'll like it.
It'll be great.
Yes. It will. But until next time, where can people find you?
So I am on Facebook at Mel's Board Game Room. You'll also find me on Instagram at Mel's_boardgame_room. And I also have the YouTube channel called Mel's Board Game Room. Also, be sure to check out our Discord and then go find that picture of the crawling nun to see Carla's drawing skills and prowess.
Sometime in February. No, January, I think, was it?
Yeah, January, February?
Yeah.
It was earlier in the year anyways. But
yeah.
How about you, Carla? Where can we find you?
I'm at Instagram, Board Game Specialist, all one word. And then on Facebook, I have Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. All right. Until next time, thank you all for listening. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.